Okay.
We're here to celebrate the beautiful artwork and initiation of Liz Lauter, my beautiful friend and neighbor, who is like the most creative person I have ever met in every single aspect. Look at her. Look at her. And she probably made everything she's wearing also. Not that, okay. So Liz is here, and I'm going to ask Liz some questions about her creative process, because she cooks, she sews, she makes babies and grandbabies. And hi. How does it feel having all your baby Majolica, you'd call it Majolica?
Well, it feels like I'm greeting my new self, because I've been a mom and I've been a teacher and an artist always, but this is the first time I've had a chance to really come out and create a body of work. So this has been fun to see the pieces interrelate to each other.
Well, this is my first time seeing them all together this way, not just in your studio. And there's so much life in this room right now. Each piece seems to say something. So can you talk a little bit about your theme, which seems very nature-oriented? And
well, I really am inspired by the Tree of Life, the folk art from Mexico, where I saw these wonderful candelabras years ago as a child. And they were full of life. They had leaves sticking out on wires and birds and all of these natural elements. And I don't know that they moved, but this is kind of my addition to it. And they were enormous, but I noticed there's a structure in them. And so I started to study them much more recently and have done my own versions of them. Having studied botany in college, so I can create the leaves and bend them and make the flowers, you know, I build each one by hand. But then I've glazed them with Italian colors. It's this Majolica technique, where you use terracotta clay and you dip it in a white glaze, and then on top of the glaze you paint. So that's been my one of my changes to the traditional Mexican folk art, which are just painted with paints. So that's where these are all glazed. So this won't fade, and this will stay really bright and vibrant.
wow, and is this one piece?
Yeah. So I make these separate, and they're attached by wires. So this I've made on pottery wheel. This is all hand built, and it's kind of a little of everything that I do.
Wow, so they're all one of a kind?
Yeah. Yeah, each one.
Exquisite, and I love that. I love the movement in them, and even the ones that don't have movement appear to have movement, and they're three-dimensional. And I mean, I should have brought my old Tree of Life book, which I should give you actually.
I want to see it.
Yeah, because you know the origin of the Tree of Life goes back even before Mexico, and so yeah, I mean it's like as far as history goes. But I'm so inspired by the other pieces.
Well, so this is a series of platters that in the tradition of Italian Majolica, the platters became canvases that went on the wall. And it's what's left is like the little dip in the middle, and the rim got larger, and it's a very Renaissance genre where traditional engravings were used by the artist, traced onto the surface, and then painted. So there's a limited palette that was used, which I tried to keep to here. I mean, they didn't have the purples, which I use in my other pieces. So this red is modern color. But these are, Historiato is the history platter. So they would take an engraving, trace it on, and basically Photoshop riff off of Raphael or all kinds of great drawings, and then paint them in. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do my own, because my Adam and Eve theme is from the Tree of Life, Adam and Eve, and then this narrative of Adam, and then really it's all about Eve.
Absolutely.
So Eve, I had a good time titling these. I was looking through my art books, and there's the typical odalisque. I thought, okay, I'm going to appropriate her. And then I need a man, I need Adam, and so this is looking in one of my sketchbooks. It was a art history book of Proudhon, Wonderful Male Nudes. So there he is, and then what's the title? I've created all the rest, and it's Eve is tired of telling Adam where everything is. So that, you know, it's like me and my life kind of mixed together with the
You
whole
have an
idea.
Adam?
I have an Adam. You probably do too.
And I know that there were some foxes. Is that
Oh, yes.
in your backyard?
Yeah,
recently?
there's the Fox News Network.
That's right. Right on Montezuma.
Yeah, the foxes are there.
Yeah.
So then there are 2 other platters. I could just keep going. I have more ideas. So this is the classic, the Botticelli or the Venus pose. I was just looking through my art book. I'll show you. I thought, well, they're for me to use too. And I don't remember what this one was. I should. But, and then I did the rest as all my own invention. But
Is that hand built?
yeah, everything's hand.
Wow. How does the rim not?
That warped a little bit, but I didn't care.
No, it has movement. It doesn't
Yeah.
look warped.
Okay.
I mean, these are extraordinary.
So it's just slab of clay with built over a dome of clay. I did it face down. Basic hand building kind of stuff. And then this was, she was always such a flirt. It's kind of fun because she's holding the apple.
My goodness. And the next one
This
has
was-
such rich color.
Yeah, this one I was painting in the figures, and I was sort of uncomfortable giving them one skin tone. You know, I wanted them more universal because all my other Adam and Eves are just white clay and white glaze. But this is from a classic Durr Adam and Eve engraving that I looked at, and then I added in things. So it was that regretful day in their relationship. I didn't know what else to
I
call
can
it.
relate.
Yeah.
And so these are more three-dimensional Adam and Eve.
Yeah,
On the Tree of Life.
Yeah, so the whole Adam and Eve story has kind of evolved, and they became kind of autobiographical, just in relationship. And so this is their apple picking. She drops the leaf, but it's still got this embellished folk art, kind of playful Tree of Life, and I've just used it as kind of a backdrop for the Adam and Eve stories. And I was thinking that all the decorative design that you see in pattern and embroidery, I like it that it's become three-dimensional.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking about. What am I doing? And so that's kind of the delight that I have. When I'm
And this one also is a candelabra.
yeah.
Which is, so you kind of have candelabra, and do you happen to have any menorahs here?
I didn't bring any because I thought, well, let's just focus on the sculpture. But I have created this, without Adam and Eve, a big Tree of Life that then has the 8 plus the extra 1 candle holders.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in how you actually make these because they look so delicate. Okay, just what's called transparency. I've made one with her, so I really kind of know. But it's like unbelievable the way you make them and the way you have command over low fire clay processes. So,
well, I do them flat on the. I start with a drawing.
there you go.
And then I roll out long coils of clay and I paint with the coils and connect them. So I have this lattice shape just without any embellishment. And I wait for it to get strong, a little drier, leather hard. And then I create a base, and I kind of like the tension of, is it going to fail? Because anytime something has failed, I learn something from it. So there's this, I'm addicted to the excitement of making things that might fall apart once I get them vertical. So then I carefully attach it to the base. And then the whole thing kind of just starts to get stronger and drier. If I leave it out in the air, it will twist and dry unevenly. So that's more of the challenge, is the drying, and when clay wants to just do this, depending on where it's thick and thin. And I add, then I sit and I add everything. But I did realize that when I add things, the weight of this bird, this is special wire that you can fire. This bird will cause the wire to bend, and it'll bend down and then just stick onto the glaze. found that out. And then so I make these separately, and then I glue them on, actually.
So you actually fire the wire in it and then glue the bird on after?
Yeah, yeah. But these are kind of like earrings, you know, the whole thing, if you can, it's stuck down with museum wax, but these move.
I mean, it's not Della Robbia, but it kind of has a little.
I love Della Robbia, that Italian.
Yeah.
The white with the limited palette, all the garlands going around. I love that.
It kind of reminds me, because even some of these, well, this could also be the Spanish or Portugal influence, but yeah, I mean, there's so much in them. They're so earthy, even though they're white. Because the clay underneath them is
the brown terracotta, right? So it kind of is a warm glow.
It is. It's exquisite. Yeah.
So I'm playing with pattern and design, and I don't, as I make these, I don't know, you know, what I'm going to make. They just evolve.
Can you talk about a little about the glass?
So this is a studio run by Marty Mead locally, and I go there once a week and do glass. It's a bead making, but I just use the glass where you heat it with a torch, and I make all these crazy things that are, I guess they're bad beads, but you'll see them in my other pieces. I'm trying to make flowers, and I just hang them in the little portals in the pieces. So then I like over here, if you want to look at this one. Do I have? I don't have it. Oh, this is flat fusing pieces. So it starts to be like different things that I can do with glass that that I'll use in my pieces.
The piece on the wall is the piece that you used to announce the show. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
And is that your glass?
There's a lot of glass in here.
Your glass.
My glass pieces, yeah. You can sort of play and look at them, and there's flat fused pieces as well. It really, it grew on me as I was making it, because I didn't know. I made this face, and I didn't know who it was or what it was going to be, and I just kept embellishing in layers, and then I realized that she had this hesitant look, and this abundance, this burden that she has to carry on her head was, again, was the feminine, the role I think of as the weight that a woman carries in all the things she does, and so I called it Bride.
Is this a self-portrait?
I think so. I think everything
is. Yeah, that's how I feel also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exquisite. And so when you start these, do you
freehand?
It's all freehand. You don't like pencil in?
Sometimes I'll pencil, because the pencil burns off.
Right.
But all the brush strokes are all freehand, which is fun. It's just cathartic. I just sit and just look at it and do more layers, go back and back. And I'll put all these metal, these all have a metal post under it, and until I get it out of the kiln, I don't know. Like, these are beads and things I found.
So it's like Christmas morning when you open a kiln?
Or it's a bad dream, or because something is cracked, you know.
Right.
Then
This is so interesting, because masks have been used even before history to convey all kinds of mythical and religious or spiritual ceremonies. So this is a ceremonial piece. Actually, they all seem ceremonial.
I really feel that just as the candelabra is the object of the glowing lights of a ceremony, of a ritual, so these pieces carry that. There's a coming together, they're like the focal point, or they kind of represent, they hold the space of some kind of event or celebration. So, and that's again the maternal thing, where you're cooking and everyone helps cook, but
no, you are the matriarch of everything around you. I've known you for 12 years to be this wonderful, creative, feminine, beautiful spirit. And just I had
and then this one, this is kind of this is the Adam is making a fire, and I put the figures in, and then I think of what's happening, and then it's always autobiographical. So this is the first time Adam made a fire, and then Eve didn't interfere, because I think I was getting my husband's nerves on.
David.
So, yeah, so he's, leave me alone, let me do it. But all the things, this is just that abundance that is the Della Robbia, this garland of fruits that go around and flowers flying, that I like that place. I create like a stage set for them.
Liz,
yeah,
pottery is your spiritual practice, right? It's your meditation.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Or when you're cooking, but I mean, whatever you're doing. So when you start a project, where are you in your body and how you relate to? Does that question make sense?
Well, I think I'm away from anyone needing me, which is really important, and I'm in my studio, and I usually have lots of little sketches that I can't wait to work on, and sometimes I'll work on 3 or 4 things at a time, just like I have to get them out because they're in my head, but a reminder, the sketch. And then I really, it's a kind of channeling when you make something, because there's some ordinary stuff of rolling the coils and laying them on a drawing, but then as it grows, you're in a dialogue with the piece, and you've got some other force maybe dialoguing with you. It kind of very much feels like you're not alone when you make a piece.
Wow.
Well, you are alone because the family isn't there.
Right, but I know what you mean. There's the energy, and that's profound.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. It's a spiritual experience,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, totally. So I've had the pleasure of being in the studio with Liz, which we're now here in the art gallery, and actually working with you several times. I've been in your classroom where. Let's talk a little bit about you as the teacher.
So that was Redwood High School for 20 years, almost 20 years. I was teaching ceramics mostly, and the best thing was to be an artist and a parent before you're in the classroom, before you're in the art room, because you're feeling what you want the kids to learn. You're not stuck on some curriculum, even though I taught. But I wanted the kids to just individually do everything. I taught them the basics, and then they all created their own projects. So it was kind of idyllic time. I miss it, not 100%.
So, I mean, I've been in many clay studios in my life. Your room was like one of the most magical places I've ever been. That big kiln, the multiple kilns, and everything going on from the mixing to clay, making the glazes. Liz had it's like, again, cooking, the recipes to make every color, fired at all different temperatures. I mean,
you know what happened was I started teaching ceramics before I really knew everything I could do. So I was a student, and I took so many workshops, and everything became another layer of what I wanted to teach my students, like printing on clay.
Right.
And then even building the Tree of Life. I had a guest artist who
I was there.
Yeah, and she showed how to build it, and everything added to it. I had an art workshop program with guest artists, and so I really had everything I wanted to learn. I would ask them to come and teach. There were adults who would come in, but then I would teach it to the students too. So and mosaics, Donna Billick taught me mosaics. I had her come I took several of her workshops. She came a couple times. So all of these things built my classroom into a really multi-dimensional sculpture. We did everything.
Did you ever do anything really dangerous with clay, like in Italy?
Oh, well, so I heard that you can go to Deruta in Italy and learn how to do the Majolica stuff. So I signed up for a class in Deruta, and it was private lessons. And the guy spoke a little English, and he smoked all the time. And he told me the De Grazia family is the oldest a Majolica factory in Italy, and you have to go to the museum where everything is. So we just had a few days, and at the end of the day after going to the museum, we had to get to the factory. And it was 10 after 4 when we got there. And oh no, it's too late. So I checked the door, and it was open. And so oh, they're still here. So I opened, hello? 1 foot in the door. Make a long story short, it was a candy land. We were all the way in the back, inner sanctum, but I thought, there's no one there. I kept calling, and I thought, this is a good thing I know the proper way to handle ceramics, because you can't touch, this will smudge. We were in the back workshop where they were doing platters, and we were in the back office where there was all the antiques, and I was filming everything, and we heard, that sounds like an alarm. And yeah, we're not supposed to be here, my husband and I. So it got louder and louder, and we're trying, by the time we got back down to the front door, it wouldn't open. It was pounding, and on the other side was this deep voice, who are you? Well, you're in my... And I said, who are you? I don't know who he was. And I am Eduardo de Grazia, you are in my factory, or called the police are on the way. And so finally got the door open, and I said, I'm a ceramics teacher. And I refused to get upset because it was so beautiful in there. Anyway, he calmed down a little bit. He called off the police, and it was memorable. And I told my students the story of real great risk taking.
Yeah. And did you buy any pieces?
No, everything. He said, why didn't you call? You could have bought something. I was just looking. Anyway, that was really fun. That was memorable. But I could see, how they were doing it, and I had learned it. I had got what I needed from that travel.
What a fount of information in every aspect of creativity. This is a very feminine looking piece.
Everything is in some way or not a feminine piece, and I've included all these glass pieces that are that my crazy shapes that I've been doing, but it's just layering, embellishing, and I was really thinking also if this is so much like a botanical references with the leaves and these vines. But I just go into the space and just start layering design.
So we're we're coming out of the patriarchal matrix, I believe, I feel, and moving towards that divine feminine energy. And as I look around, I know we're here, I brought you over here to talk about these new abstract pieces, but then I look over there with that piece right there. I don't know, Emrys, if you can swing over, and I'm going to run over to this piece because it kind of relates to that one.
It is.
That, the goddess of abundance.
Yeah.
Holy, unbelievable moly. Like, this is just so full of radiance and vibrancy. And it's so feminine. And I think it's just extraordinary.
Well, this is, there's the lotus flower, but it's obvious this portal, as can, in all of its symbolism. But it's also all of the feminine decorative. It's just more layer and layer, and if I don't stop there, then I go here, and there's more beads added, and everything moves, so it's very alive. You can see, and the Suzanne embroidery, I love those big orb-like embroidery flowers.
I should have worn mine.
Yeah, I love. So that's kind of part of what's happening.
Also, talk about the pomegranate and its symbolism from like.
So it all it's all the thread, the same bundle coming together of the pomegranate that's split open, and you see the inside berries. So, and then it's the fruit of fertility. Yeah. So, and the color, that pomegranate color, is part of what I always have loved. And then even the buds reaching out, it just kind of reaches out into space. Also these,
wonderful. Let's go back over, sorry Emrys, but These are new pieces. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about, this one seems to be all glass.
Yeah, it is.
And then some of them are mixtures of clay and
The way
glass.
we hung things, I mean, we could have done it in different ways. This is kind of another direction that's been so cathartic to break out into, because they're related to this group where I've just abstracted this feminine essence that I called them Eve 1, Eve 2, Eve 3, because they're flower type. Having studied botany in college, I could just create a flower form. And then these are glass pieces that I made. And, you know, I've just, again, it's a stream of consciousness where you respond to the piece and then you add to it. But they're anthropomorphic in this proportion. They're like a person. And so I just went a step further off of the form into just the decorative, where the whole idea of decoration becomes a three-dimensional sculptural piece. Just instead of flat, I'm just 3D. Yeah.
Who does this remind you of?
Matisse.
Oh, Matisse, of course.
Yeah.
Betty Woodman.
Oh, yes. Well, she was looking Matisse too. So I'm glad you mentioned Betty Woodman, because I love her work. And I saw it when I was teaching, like me. 15 years ago, I discovered her. I should have known more about her, but I used her as something for teaching with my students, because she's so freeing, and she was making design into sculpture and on the wall, and there's absolutely a Betty Woodman spirit in these. I mean, she was really, in some respects, she would look at a textile and then copy it roughly on, so you recognized it. And I didn't want to really recognize anything. I was looking through my art books at colors and designs, and then not looking, and then just creating something. And so these are just feelings of delight. When you see something that you kind of glow with enjoying the beauty, that's what I was feeling in making these. So
Wonderful. So Betty was my first ceramics teacher, and like you, Betty moved to Italy. You didn't move to Italy, but Betty was a nice Jewish New York woman who moved to Italy with her painter husband. And she opened the first kind of, what's it called? Community pottery school in Boulder, Colorado. So, you know, whatever it's called, after school kind of thing. That's where I met Betty. But when I met you, I saw the connection. And can you talk about some of your other early influences? Because did you know Bob Arneson?
I didn't know him, but I went to Davis. Right. And I had always done ceramics from age 11 in San Francisco at Ruby O'Burke's Studio, which is now a name, Ruby O'Burke's Studio, but Ruby taught me. And then when I went to college, I was told that if you threw a pot on the wheel, which was a sacred thing with Ruby, they would smash it. So I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not taking ceramics. I missed Arneson, but I studied with Thibaut.
I know, that's where I was going. So Wayne Thibaut, if you don't know him.
Yeah. So, I mean, I took every class, and I spent a lot of time one-to-one asking him how Chardin created things, and how did Whistler create the white on white, and I mean, I wanted the traditional stuff, which he gave me. But, you know, that was really the foundation. I paint. I always called myself a painter. So a lot of ceramic artists didn't start out with clay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other influences that you, personal ones, studied with or met? Or
I think it was more living in Israel, the Islamic arts. That's where I discovered. I would draw the tiles, and I always loved the Islamic arts. I just call them generally that, but the Persian, Turkish, all of that. So it's in my work, in the arabesque. When I create my tree of life forms, they're not like the Mexican folk art ones, which are very heavy and even tubes. Mine are tendrils that have an S curve, and I taper them. So I'm thinking, and I draw them like this. So they're moving. Yeah.
Well, you use the Moorish. That's kind of what I meant when I saw the base of that one with the
definitely.
blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen the other room yet, but how do you feel about this? Because I knew you before you were planning this.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's extraordinary to me.
Thank you. Well, I'm seeing a mirror of, it's showing me something that I can't myself see.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting, of course, to get people's reactions. I think there's something about spacing things out, and then the pieces can speak to each other. And it makes more sense. But if there was an earthquake and everything broke now, I'd be fine, because my next pieces, I can't wait to do my next work. I would give everything away. I just make room for some new stuff. I mean, this isn't old, but this is, I'm getting more ideas from seeing it. Eve is falling out of the tree, she's catching an apple. I don't realize there's nothing going on.
Say it again.
I appreciate that so much. So then I started to animate, put them on that one into the tree of life. And out of this world, Eve is reaching out of the tree, and it started to be autobiographical because it was worrying about her, and she's not afraid. She's leaning out of the tree, and she's dropped her leaf, which always comes out, and it started this one story after another that I wanted to do with Adam and Eve. And then I still would create the tree of life because I love them.